So we started a new concept, Malo Mato. And the Rebbe says the reason that there is such a divide between Malo Mato in the sphirot is due to the fact that there is a divide, there's the principle of Malo Mato in Ein Sof itself. We're going to speak about Malo Mato for a moment. He's going to use the Mishor of Chochmah Bina. You have to translate it at our level. In simple terms, Malo Mato Bayas. For example, if one is standing up on a high floor, standing up on the Empire State Building, he is able to see an expanse much greater than what you see from down below. And this in that's a bigger expanse is not only that he sees more houses and more streets and more space. It's a different view. As we pointed out many times, that one who is standing up high, he sees the entire expanse, the entire panorama. His perception of the relationship between 2 points on the ground is a completely different relationship than for the person who is on the ground. The person on the ground, he also recognizes and he can also relate to the 2 points, the point where he's standing and the point where he wants to go to. But these are 2 very separate points. And he knows how they're related, not that they're related. He knows how to access one from the other. When one is standing up high, all the points in the entire expanse are correlated, not only because you can reach one from the other, but because there is a higher unity amongst them. Suffice it for this moment, for right now. This is called Mila. It's a higher perception. You're not reaching one point, the distant point, by going through obstacles and finding your way around them. Rather, you go directly because you have a higher perception. From a higher perspective, nothing is obstructed. This is called Malo Mato. Now, you have to project a little bit further before we go on. This Malo Mato comes to existence, so to speak, comes to the form, gets cognizance. Only what one would call after the tzimtzum. Because if you perceive and understand it from the perspective of the expanse itself, there is no Ma'alo Mato. From the expanse itself, there is no obstruction. Everything is equally correlated to everything else. Because the provision for everything to exist at that level does not come from space, from expanse of space. It comes from a higher perspective. Let me explain. You come into this room and you have a chair in your hand and you want to put the chair down. You're looking for an empty space, a spot where you can put the chair down. This is from the lowest level perspective. In a sense, the chair doesn't belong there, is an intruder, but it needs a place to be, so you find a place for it. But if you look from the inception of the room, in the inception of the room accommodates everything that the room can possibly serve for. And it is there not because there's room for it, but because it belongs there. There is no Milo or Mato. Everything belongs because of the principle of what this room stands for. Everything relates to the principle itself. Okay, there's more to it, but just as a start, it should be enough. Okay, so let's go inside Ois Lamed Gimel on page AYIN Gimel. והנה, זהו סיבה, גם כן סיבה, זה הישחקוס למעלה ומטה שיש בעשר ספירס. This too is the cause and the reason for the hischalkus, of the division of Milo and Mato that is found in Esser Sfiros. Sheharei, what is this referred to? Sheharei, since behold, Esser Sfiros, the Atzilus, the 10 Sfiros of Atzilus, Hein b'bchinas Milo and Mato. They are structured and they correlate to one another in this bechina, with this criterion of Milo and Mato, a higher and lower. Chochmah, where the Chochmah, for example, he lemayla b'madrega mehabina, is at a higher madrega than the bina. Again, so as we just asked, what is the meaning that Chochmah is at a higher madrega than bina? This thing that Chochmah is at a higher madrega than Bina is not merely that Chochmah glances at a bigger expanse at once than Bina. Where Bina breaks things down into detail, and Chochmah perceives things from a broader, a more encompassing perspective. This does not capture the principle. The principle that Chochmah perceives things from a higher perspective. Let me just step back for a moment. He's saying that Bina identifies individual aspects. Chochmah does not go to the individual aspects. Chochmah sees from a higher perspective. The question is this: since Chochmah does not go through the details, whereas Bina does that mean that Chochmah is lacking in comparison to Bina in terms of clarity? Because Bina identifies each individual aspect in the seichel, and Chochmah does not. So then Chochmah, that means that Chochmah will be lacking in clarity. That does not make it this being higher of any significance. However, this is not what it means. Chochmah is not lacking clarity. On the contrary, Chochmah has greater clarity than Bina. The reason that we say Chochmah has greater clarity than Bina is that Chochmah sees things from a higher perspective, from their inception. Chochmah sees things, as we said before in the Gashmis, how things belong where they are, not how things are present. This is the meaning that Chochmah is l'mayla b'madregim Bina. It sees things from a high perspective. Let's again speak at our level. When you enter a home and you see the head of the household sitting at the head of the table and the family sitting around. Physically, you see the different setups. Each one has his place. But your Chochmah tells you right away that it's not each one has his place, has a place. This is how they belong, and this is the proper way of setting him up. Because they have a different position in the family structure. This Chochmah perceives instantaneously. This is meaning that Chochmah is higher than Bina, because Chochmah looks at things from a different angle, from a different principle. Okay? Are you with me? V'hamoichin, and also on a more general level, moichin, the intellect, the l'mayla me'amidas, are higher than the midas. Moichin, the intellect, identifies things from their true value. Midas identify things from their personal interest, personal effect, which is much lower than moichin. Ad ha-malchus, all the way down to the malchus level, shehi soif the chol dargin, the atzilus, which is the end of all madrigas of atzilus. Nikra mato, and malchus thus is called mato, bottom. But malchus does not stand for any particular principle or particular spirit. It's called mato. The be'oir ein soif atmos umehusoi, where in the oir ein soif atmos umehus means the essence of oir ein soif. In the oir ein soif, in the atzim oir ein soif, lo yesh inyan milo o mato. There is not the entire concept of milo o mato, of higher and lower. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, I in the morning I take a Tylenol, and that keeps me clear. I forgot, so I'm constantly running. The holding of Milo Mata doesn't exist in Atzim, in Hashem. We have a means to relate to it even in our world. The way I thought it would be a way of relating to this is, if you find the center of gravity of a plate, the plate can be very, very large. And the outer edges of the plate relative to the center are very far away from the center. And yet, if you put a pin at the very center, the other edges are maintained in balance equally as the middle. There's no difference, because they're all equally related to the center. They're all standing not because their own ability to stand, but because they're in their proximity and relationship to the center, and in that respect they're exactly equal. It's a means of relating, of recognizing that there could be all kinds of different principles, and from the perspective of the truth, they're all of equal standing. In Atzmos Mahus, everything is related, is drawn from the Etzem, from the center, from the truth itself. And from that perspective, everything is of equal status. And there is no inyan of Malo Mato. We had another means of illustrating this principle, this concept. He said that when it comes to doing the Aveidim Beis Hamikdash, the Kohen must not have any blemishes, any mum. A boom, it consists of any blemish. If his little pinky is damaged in some way on the foot pinky, it's a blemish.
Even a scratch? Even a scratch?
Even a scratch. He cannot do the Aveidim. He has to heal. It's called mum oiver. He cannot do the Aveidim. Now this mum, from a practical perspective, is totally insignificant. Where does it take significance? At a much higher perspective. It comes to do the Aveidim in Beis Hamikdash. And doing the Aveidim in Beis Hamikdash, there is no difference where the mum is. A scratch on your pinky or a scratch in your eye, the mum, because if you're looking from a higher, from a perfection, from a total perfection level, and from there is no difference. In essence, it's about mum. This illustrates a concept that there's no malo matter. This is when you relate it back to the essence. It came here on the fourth line. As it says in Nitzchaim B'Tilosai, that prior to before that the Netzolim were identified, there was only Eir Elyon, a supreme Oir, Poshut, without any definitive parts. What did this Oir represent? It represented earlier the reality, the truth of godliness itself. And there in that Oir there was no Milo Mata, there was no concept, no principle of higher and lower, or Rosh V'Soif, or Hedos or Net. This is the way it is initially in the Oir Elyon. But in the sphirot, after it came to the point where there is sphirot, this is Aliyah, after Aliyah Zorotzi, as we all know. There is sphirot, 10 spheres, not any number of spheres, but 10 spheres. There is Chalkos Milo Matter. There is a division between Milo Matter. How come? Since the spheres is essentially the oil as it is emanating also from the source, beside Aliyah Zorotzen. So why is there Milo Matter? The who, and here's where I'd like we should focus in. The who, and that is Lihiyois, being that Shehoeser Spheres, that the 10 spheres hein b'bchinas Islapshus Pnimi, they have a quality of Islapshus Pnimi, of an internal and a personal correlationship. Oires b'keilim, oires in keilim. And al kain, and therefore, lefi oifon hakeilim, according to the type of keilim, it is meir b'hem ha'oir. This is the degree to which the oir illuminates in this sphere, based on the keilim. Now, as we learned, the inyan of the sphirot being the slapshus in keilim, keilim, this is at the very far end of the sphirot. There is a tzimtzum takes place before they reach that level of slapshus v'keilim. However, despite the fact that in the sphirot, as they are kol in oil soif, there is no slapshus v'keilim, but there is already the intent and the potential for slapshus v'keilim. This is what we spoke about yesterday until now, that there is the projection of that they should be the slapshus v'keilim, because the whole phenomenon of 10 spheres represents a structure of an eventual slapshus v'keilim. This is why it's 10, not an unlimited number, because 10 provides for a structure, what's called a descent, a correlationship from a higher to a lower, until you reach a point where now you can identify it so clearly that you can go into a cave. So this inyan that there is also slapshus v'keilim is inherent. Okay, I'd like which one is inherent in the sphirot even before they be slavish in the keilim. Which is why in sphirot there is ma'alo mato.
Already?
Yeah, we're talking about this. Yeah.
Are there keilim there too?
No, keilim come much later. But it's saying that there's no keilim. Keilim first, there's a tzimtzum and so forth. But inherent in the spheres there is the aim that they should be mislabish mekeilim eventually. Even though there is absolutely no keilim.
Can I ask something?
Yes, go ahead.
Wasn't it said that in this space mechanism there is no ma'ale mato because there's blima?
There is ma'alo mato, even though it's blima. It's not ma'alo mato in the same sense as when after the tzimtzum. But the whole thing that we discussed, that in the essence of the spheres, there's already the projection of the sphere of the spheres coming down to the point where it's slapshus is keilim.
Can we say it's just a projection of ma'alo mato?
Ma'alo mato is included in that projection. Because the spheres hang in the slapshus pnimi oines v'keilim. They have the element of the slapshus pnimi. A true slapshus. Pnimi means a personal relationship to the keilim. The oines and slapshus is related to the keilim. Okay. Therefore, lefi oifen hakeilim meir b'hem hoyer. The oil is as bright as the keilim can tolerate. Ve'al kein, and thus, ha-keili, that keili shehi b'bchinas darkest v'ruch yesir, the keili that is more refined and more spiritual, meir bo ha'oyer b'yei b'yesir. In that keili, the oil comes out in greater brightness, because the keili is refined. That's all according to it's identified. The oil is relative to the keili. And if the oil is meir b'yesir, harei zeh b'chinas milo. Therefore, this represents the bechina of milo. Very briefly, if the oil is meir, if the oil is shining with greater brightness, what is said? The meir shines greater brightness. As we said in Amashon, there's a physical setup, and there is the significance of the physical setup. The oil is brighter when you see the significance of what this setup stands for. This is the oil. Okay.
Chochmah.
This is where we're going to stop the talk.
You're saying in Chochmah. That's what we said before. It's the clear, where it's the clearest. We're saying. You're saying we said before in Chochmah. It's the clear. It's the most clear.
Thank you, Paltiel.
The clarity, yeah, it's most clear because it's not. You're looking at it from a higher perspective.